What's up, everybody? Jensen Cummings here. Thank you for tuning in. This is Best Served Podcast 174, people.
Wow.
We've been on a lot. This is since March 18th, Max. We've been on every single day, and today I'm pumped. We're talking Caribbean and Asian fusion with Max Hardy. Max, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, man. That's great.
All right. This channel, Best Served Hot, we focus on hot food trends, unique foods, emerging cuisine. I love what you're all about. Bringing the Caribbean to the States is super important. Bringing it to Detroit, I think amazing. Owner, head chef at COOP Detroit. So we're gonna get into a lot of things. We're gonna pack this full of excitement. Starting out, tell people COOP. What can they expect from COOP? What's happening there?
Man, so COOP is a Caribbean fusion, part of Detroit shipping company. The idea came about literally almost 10 years ago. I was in New York and we had an opportunity to do it in Greenwich, Connecticut. And then we just put it on the table just because it was just so busy. We couldn't figure out where we wanted to put it in Greenwich. I didn't want to go old Greenwich, and I really wanted to be in the city, but the rent there is through the roof. So I was like, I better table it, and then we had this opportunity to move back to Detroit and be a part of Detroit shipping company. So I brought it there. And, it started off as a Caribbean and Asian fusion. And then our restaurant next door, Bangkok 96, they're all Thai and Asian. So I didn't want to, compete. So I just went full core Caribbean. So giving you just a fusion of different islands, Jamaican, Bahamian, Trini, a little DR, a little Puerto Rican, so just kind of just mixing it up and having a fusion of different islands and flavors. And so two of our things that stick out really are jerk wings is, one of the things that's really a big popular joint.
Yeah.
Make a barbecue sauce, which is crazy. Everyone loves that. And then we do Caribbean corn. We do this spicy Brussels sprout. So we just mix it up and just really have some fun, man. Traditional Jamaican patties in there as well, and curry shrimp and all that good stuff. So I'm
interested. So we'll come back to this because I'm super fascinated about the idea of fusion, thinking about just across the islands, then thinking about how you brought Asian into it, and then maybe thought that there was like just too much white noise in that space. And so you kind of focused on this. From a brand perspective, that's my jam. I'm really, really into that. So we'll get into that. But I want to take people back. It's so important for us to understand who we are in the kitchen, who we are in the restaurant, why the hell we do what we do. So take us all the way back. When did you first catch the hospitality bug?
Really probably my sophomore year, my freshman year in high school was kind of when I became interested, and I started doing programs with ProStart. So I was one of the only students in Tampa to really do all the ProStart programs. And now the time I kind of fell in love with it, man. Like just competing and going to competitions in Orlando and competing with different students in Tampa in high school was really cool. I won one of the competitions and I was like, maybe we could do this for a living. But then I got hurt my junior year in high school. So I couldn't play for a while. So play basketball. So during that time I would go to the kitchen, and we had home ec that transferred to Culinary 1, and we would make cinnamon rolls and cookies in the morning, and just real fun stuff for students to have in the morning for school. And then next thing you know, me and the chef hit it off, and I'll help him after class and after school, and then I start helping him on the weekends, and I got a job at Ruby Tuesdays. Yeah, I was a salad bar guy at Ruby Tuesdays, and did baked potatoes and all that good stuff. And so that's when my love and passion kind of spiked. And then completing all the culinary programs with ProStart, and then being able to compete on that, that national and local regional level, it was really cool. And that's what kind of really got me going. My uncle's a chef too, so I always saw him, growing up and cooking. My mom's a great cook, and my family, always around food. So it was truly, just a passion and just a love, but it didn't grow to, my career till I realized I wasn't gonna go to NBA and I better make money. So
I want to stay on that because something that you're talking about has been a thread and a theme quite often in the show, and I want to hear more of it.
Yep.
That early on, we're even going all the way to doing a lot of work in communicating and hosting shows. We have a channel called Best Served Young around like school gardens, because I think you hook them when they're young.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I big fan of ProStart. I've mentored ProStart students in the past, front and back of house as well. And so I'm a big believer in that. If you get them when they're young and they're cooking with their family, inspired by uncle, you get them on this path, there's a huge opportunity. And not only that, but we need kids eating the types of foods that you're putting out there. Because if they're eating all processed foods now, in 10, 15 years, when they're the base of your potential guest consumer base, they're not going to want the chef-driven stuff that we're putting out there. So I think that's really fascinating. Get them when they're young, people.
Yeah, for sure. And that also, too, piggyback off that, it like really just gives them life skills, man. Like, I teach culinary arts all the time. And, I'm like, well, I don't really want you to be a chef. I want you to understand cooking and understand food. And, but it gives you tangible life skills, I think, throughout the way of learning how to cook. So that's one of the important things, getting them young.
I could not agree more. And also, we've been going very practically through pre-COVID. There was just massive amounts of labor shortages. And I think seems like a labor issue, but to me, it's a culture issue. Like, are we investing in the future of people saying, like, I don't know that restaurants are a great place to work anymore. And so cultivating those relationships young also is practical.
No,
like, you're creating future sous chefs for yourself. I think that's an absolute investment. So I'm a big believer in everything that you're saying right now. Cooking with the family, another thread. So important. What does cooking with the family mean? How are you now? Were they Caribbean dishes? Is that where your family was cooking their identity from? Give us a little bit of that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. My mom's side of the family's from Bahamas. My dad's side of the family's from Georgia. Migrated to Detroit. So, I kind of had the best of both worlds of a little soul and Caribbean. So when I was in Detroit, I got, soul food and, got that whole love of the Southern. But then, in Florida, I just got a lot of Caribbean, Bahamian influence. And so it was a lot of those dishes, growing up in Tampa, a lot of seafood, a lot of crabs, a lot of shrimp. And so we had that quite often. And then it was just, truly a passion, for me to get into Caribbean, just because all my cooks were Haitian, Dominicans, Cuban. When I was in Miami, when I first started getting, honing my skills at different hotels and country clubs. So that whole love of seeing them cooking, doing family meal, and it's always something fun. It was like, okay, well, this is like a passion in a way, a lane I should be kind of going. And it kind of took his lane and on itself, and really about 23, 24, I figured that'd be kind of my fusion and my way of changing, kind of the culture of what I'm doing as a chef.
You're getting me fired up. Family meal, the best place to do menu development. The best place. Those are always the best meals, and they're the most creative.
Letting everyone get in there and kind of, picking, and I used to make my cooks every day. Somebody had to, their day of who made family meal. And so one day it might've been Cuban dude, one might've been Haitian dude. And so we just always had great meals. And they used to try to get me in there as much as they can. But I was like, I want to eat y'all food. I don't want to cook, but I miss that.
Yeah, family meal is so important also for the camaraderie, which once again, if we're talking about culture issues within restaurants, building that camaraderie is so important because we are so go, go, go. Yep. I really love that. I remember family meals where, the El Salvadorian would make a dish and I'd have this and it'd be like this look. I'm like, yeah, sure. It's just a taco. It's whatever. And I have it and there's some sauce and I'd look at them and go, what the hell is this? And then they go, chef, that's just what we cook on the regular. That's going on the menu. Yeah. We got to make that. And I love that creativity because they just think of it as it's like peasant food a lot of times. They're like, that's just what, abuelitas make all over. And it doesn't really matter. And I'm like, it matters.
Yeah, for sure.
It absolutely matters. So do you think of yourself as an ambassador for, Bahamian and Caribbean food? Where do you think of yourself kind of in the zeitgeist of what's happening in cuisine and culture?
Well, I'm in the mix, right, of a little bit of everything. I think I'm more ambassador of teaching the youth and training young students to get to the next level, especially in, the minority, Black and brown community and just the minority community. So I think that's kind of where I'm hanging my hat at right now. Yeah. But, cuisine wise, I'm really focused on, Bahamian cooking and, just Caribbean cooking as a fusion, just because it's so fun. There's so many different colors, so much flavors, and it never ends, right? You go down there, you find so many different ingredients that you can bring back and use. And a lot of that pairs really well together. So that's why I was big on trying to mix Asian and Caribbean together, because a lot of that just kind of blends and fuses together. So, but I guess those are two things that kind of where I'm hanging my hat at right now.
Bahamian food, when you say that and we think Caribbean, all of a sudden, you mentioned the jerk, and it's a great way to kind of lead into the conversation. But the depth of cuisine and culture there is massive. And we were talking about the difference between Haitian food and Dominican food, even though they're right there, is vastly different. And so I think the lexicon of what that means is huge. Give us a couple entry points of like, when you say Bahamian food, like what are you trying to represent? What is maybe the ethos behind that, the thinking behind that cuisine, their access to ingredients, and also just like maybe what's a dish or two that like is the gateway drug for people into that cuisine?
So if you think about like just, Caribbean cooking in general, like think about jerk, right? So jerk it was meant to be a, preservative, right? So a lot of the things that they like the curries and, a lot of things that they use, it was meant to be preservatives to get through. And, when you catch some fish, they dried it out and made it, salt cod. Why did they do that? So they can preserve it, because they couldn't cook it right then and there. They had to, travel back to the island from fishing and so forth. So a lot of that, man, it kind of transitions into, what you see today. Like, so in Bahamas, like conch is one of the, the big things, it's probably is the thing in Bahamas. So like conch fritters, stew conch and crack conch and rice and peas and, I mean, you just name it. So many different, fruits that they use, guavas, pineapples, mangoes. And so it's so many of those things that, that represent Bahamas, but then it kind of translates to all the different islands, and just how they prepare it is the only difference. But you get a lot of those stews, you get a lot of braising, a lot of grilling, a lot of roasting, just because I think it was easier to, all right, let me make a batch of this and, just have it for later, versus, let's make it every breakfast, lunch, and dinner, So growing up, I saw my parents and, just my Bahamian side, man, they'll make, bullfish and grits in the morning. That'd be, the thing that we have all day, So,
Right.
But I think it was like a lot of that stuff, that was rich and hearty, with a lot of flavor, but, very simple too. You think of boiled fish, they take just the heads and the cheeks of the grouper. They steam that down with some potatoes and onions and scotch bonnet in there, and some bird peppers and throw some potatoes, and you're good to go. Meal.
I'm yes, yes, Max, 100%. Conch. So for anybody who doesn't know conch, the shell that you hold to your ear to hear the ocean, right? Conch. Are you bringing conch to Detroit? I think it's a fascinating ingredient. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I thought it was a clam. When I first had it, I was like, oh, it's just going to be like a big clam. Totally, completely different. So let's stay with that, because I think conch could be an interesting one where it's could be a little bit scary, a little bit intimidating. People haven't had it. Chefs are like, ooh, I want to get my hands on it. Like, let's vibe on that for a second. Conch. Let's talk about conch as an ingredient, as a potential, again, gateway drug to get people on board.
So conch to me, when I first had it, I guess I thought about it as a clam too. More of like a razor clam, the texture wise.
There you go. Yep.
And then I guess the sweetness is almost like a scallop. So I think I always tell people it's in between that, a scallop and a clam. And it's very delicate, so a lot of times I just like to, just scorch it and just hit it with some pepper, some onions, and some lemon and lime, and be done with it. But here in Detroit, I brought it to the city, and, I do conch fritters, I do crack conch, sometimes on the weekends. But, fritters is one of those staples, and you go anywhere, you see conch fritters, especially when you're in the islands, you see that. So I wanted to bring it to Detroit because, there's no Bahamian restaurants here in the city. Two, is a hard ingredient to find. And then I think the third is really to show the consumer something that's different, something they can take a risk and be like, oh, let me try this, because you say conch, and unless you've been to Bahamas, you really don't know, So I really just tried to bring something that was a little different to the city with our first restaurant, and here now we do a conch and shrimp fritter at COOP now. So I just wanted to mix it up because it's hard to find conch so much, and so I get as much as I can, and then I kind of split it with shrimp in there. But it's one of those things, man, that you can do so much with it. You can fry it. One of my favorite things growing up is seeing my mom stew it down, with that and some rice or some grits. And so it's just one of those really delicate but hearty dishes that you don't really see on the menu. It's kind of almost like walking somewhere and you see caviar on the menu. Like, well, we got caviar everywhere, and it's not something that's, and it's expensive. Same thing as conch. Conch is expensive. It's running probably here in the city right now $12 a pound.
Okay, yeah.
In New York, Man, it's like $35 a pound. So yeah.
New York is on a whole different level.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. The fritters. Fritters is the first thing that I ever had.
Yeah.
And honestly, like maybe for anywhere in the world, but especially in like the American like culinary scene, you deep fry something, people are gonna go, oh, okay, I can try that, right? So it's again a good like gateway touch point. But to your point, then I had a couple preparations that exactly what you said, charred, like barely on the grill, not even cooked all the way through, with like raw red onions and some Scotch bonnet and tons of citrus. It very much evoked almost like a ceviche or something like in that realm. It was super fascinating.
When you get to, Bahamas and you getting off the boat, if you're going on a cruise, you see the guy, making conch salad live. It's nothing more than ceviche, just with tomatoes and, onions and a lot of citrus and, a lot of pepper. And that's one of the great things, man. When you get there, you get it right out the water. Somebody go diving for it, and then you can, have it right then and there. Nothing better than that.
The energy around those who cook Caribbean food is out of the stratosphere.
Yeah.
The guy you're talking about, when you get off the boat and they're there making conch salad, like you just want to hang out with that guy all day. The vibing, the music, there's just like a soul to it that it's different. It feels different. Talk about that.
That's what I love, the most. Like, when I'm home, I like to just go and grab a beer and just sit there and watch him do his thing and let him talk. And guests come up and trying to figure out what it is. And then you go under the dock and they're doing the same thing. So being able to see that is definitely truly exciting, and it kind of keeps you pumped up to be there, right? And it kind of gives you just a part of the culture. Like you feel like you're there. You never want to leave. So. I can't wait till they open the country back up after all this craziness, so I can go home and get some salad and fritters.
Yeah, you need to get back to the source to like feel that energy, because it's palpable 100%. And so then let's talk about Detroit. Detroit is not known for Caribbean cuisine. Detroit is not known for island vibes, right? So like it's different. You're bringing the culture and the cuisine. And then you talked about the youth. You're trying to influence them in a way to like really have respect and understanding for the ingredients, the people, the techniques, and all that. So talk about, as a leader in the kitchen, but also a business owner and a pillar in the community, like how do you go about that practically? Like somebody out there right now is looking to open a restaurant because they're from Haiti and they want to bring their culture. Their families in Miami, and they're coming from the Caribbean, first generation. They want to open a restaurant. You've been successful at it. Give us a little bit of, let us learn from you a little bit. How do you go about representing that culture within actually a business?
Well, I mean, it's tough, especially here in Detroit, because you didn't have a lot of that. You had a few African restaurants, that was here. You have a small African population in Detroit. But far as like true Caribbean, you really didn't have much of it. You have a couple of Jamaican restaurants. That's cool. Right. But just wanted to be a part of the food scene here in the city was important for me. And then I'm like, okay, if I'm going to be a part of the food scene, being that Detroit wasn't known as like a true food town and, had a lot of chefs at the time, it was always great chefs here. You just didn't see them. Right. And they didn't have a platform to open restaurants, and they had soul food spots and, but I think, as a whole, it wasn't like a food city, like, in New York or Chicago or Seattle or, Miami. So to take that risk and take that shot was a little nerve wracking, especially to do a cuisine and just mention Caribbean. Cause like, what you talking about? Jamaican? Everyone just knows that. Right. And so it's like, no, we're going to do a little something different. Right. We're going to, mix it up a little bit. But I wanted to hit the youth first and start training individuals, because I knew that there will be a shortage of cooks. There will be a shortage of, true professional hospitality folks, just because it wasn't a big, food and beverage city. There wasn't, huge culinary schools here. You have one, that's notable, which is Schoolcraft. And they're
probably teaching them French cuisine.
Yeah, right. Probably,
and maybe a little bit of Japanese and some Italian.
Right. But it wasn't like, I got a school that can really pump out a lot of students. So it was important for me just to get back in the community and try to find those folks that really wanted to be embedded in the culinary movement here. And so then, I was like, all right, let's take a shot now. Let's get this restaurant open. We opened up River Bistro first, which was, Caribbean and soul. That was on the west side, and I wanted to get into the community and show the chefs that's been here, hey, I'm on your team. Let's open up in the city, the heart of the city. I didn't want to run downtown, midtown. My first project, I really wanted to get back in the community and see if it could work, and then really show the community that we can do something that's sustainable, healthy, great food at a great price within our neighborhood. So we did that. We were voted number 8 best restaurant in the city out the gate. We had a lot of good success out the gate. And then, we said we're going to do, COOP, which we knew was going to be a Caribbean kind of street food, taco truckish, food truckish. And so, but I really wanted to, just continue building, that community of Caribbean chefs, Caribbean, influence as much as I can. And so, we got another project that we're, have on the back burner for right now because of this COVID stuff, but it's going to be an Afro-Cuban, with a lot of African influence and, a little Cuban inspiration. So for me, it's just important to kind of just continue in, just a brand, that I think we have a Caribbean fusion over us right now. So I think that's important to kind of continue pushing that and continue teaching and empowering the youth to get to the next level in the culinary movement here. So yeah, that's kind of how it, came together. And man, and I recommend anyone that's looking to take the shot, right now, it's probably not the best time, but this is the planning time. This is the time where you, get down there, start working on the menus, doing, your research and making sure, you just understand food costs and food analysis and, writing those recipes that's going to, take you to the next level. And going back and doing the homework and seeing how, your family had recipes and how the culture, changed and how can you bring that culture to whatever restaurant you're going to open, whatever food truck you're going to do and, pop-ups and all that good stuff. So it's looking good, man. There's a lot of good talent here in Detroit and, now, and I think it's, starting to continue as more chefs move back here and the more chefs, open up restaurants. And, if it wasn't for this pandemic, I think we'll be rolling. But again, I think this is planning stages and real time to get things rolling.
Yeah, there's going to be absolutely opportunity coming out of this as it's just going to be different than kind of the way we came up. And so I want to touch on a few humans before we get out of here. We've talked a lot at a high level, the influence that you had from your family, from the people of the Caribbean, from the guy on the dock making the salad. Hero, straight up a hero, because the amount of people that had that experience that went and said, I want to go and cook now. I want to have that guy's life. I just love the serendipity of that. But let's talk about a few people. I love how many people you gave a shout out. I want to rip through as many of them as possible because we want them to feel some acknowledgement. So you had Chef Taz from Detroit cooking with you at the Bistro, it sounds like. Who's Taz?
Yeah, he's one of my good buddies, man. We met about 12, 13 years ago when I was coming back and forth to Detroit just to visit family. Man, he was like riding around in his Cadillac selling meals, and now he's one of the top chefs in the city. We're really good buddies. We hang out a couple times a week, and it's great to have people like that. When I got back home to Detroit, he just opened his arms and just kind of helped me out and let me use his kitchen and vice versa. And we just been kind of rocking and doing business together. So
people in the kitchen are the best and the craziest, aren't they? Like
yeah.
Both.
The crazy part, him just seeing, him inspiring me, man, just seeing him, selling meals out the back of his car. Now he has restaurants and catering, it was just a true inspiration and showed me that I could, continue this movement as a chef and with catering and being in New York and doing stuff. So he was one of the guys that really inspired me when I got back.
Well, I want to touch on a couple more because we only got a couple minutes, but you said Chef JR, Chef Troy, Chef Richard, Ellen, and need who are a couple more people? Just
Ellen is really important, man. Like she's the one that did the first ChefMax Miami website. She's the one I got fired, man, from Williams Island. I was like 23. I was like a chef there. And the day I got fired, she said, come over, let's get this company rolling. And she rolled with me, man, probably 5 years. We started doing weddings and everything together. And it was like me and her. And, she helped me set up my first LLC. She helped me all across the board when I first got rolling. And I decided to, not go back to work. So she's a true inspiration and truly, a help for me. Chef Richard, my uncle, he was, just an inspiration and still is. And, he's the chef that taught me pretty much everything.
And with a handle like Culinary Flair, it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. No, he's old school chef, man. Just tyrant. He's not as crazy as he used to be anymore, but it's just fun. He showed me, everything. Everything in the kitchen, from making hollandaise, 20 gallons of it, to throwing steamers and me doing lobster night and going crazy. So he was a truly inspiration.
And then Horatio Williams, the Horatio Williams Foundation. I didn't know about this. What's the Horatio Williams Foundation? Yeah,
it's a foundation in Detroit. Horatio Williams, he has a foundation here where he helped the youth in the city. He has a center, man, where he gives back to so many different kids. He has basketball programs, literacy programs, and so this pandemic, we've done close to about 60,000 meals out of his kitchen. And so he's been one of those guys too that opened his doors up when I first got home. And I started the culinary program at his particular kitchen when I first got back. So he's been nothing but help, man. And everyone I name, man, has been just truly inspiration. If I missed anybody, I love you and all the.
So if we just pop people's names up, and we can't talk about them, but we want to make sure they get a little bit of love. And we got Troy and JR.
She's the Bahamian chef, man. She showed me a lot of Bahamian dishes, and she was one of the first ones that rode with me too when we started doing a lot of the Caribbean stuff down in Florida at festivals. So Chef JR, we've done a lot of stuff together, and the list goes on and on. But man, everyone has really joined in to help and push forward. So
this is really great, Max. Look, I do this show because now I've been introduced to 7, 8, 10 new people. Right. I have an idea about the culture and the humans.
Yep.
We talked about conch because we talked about business a little bit because I also want people watching to have just a little bit of an understanding of kind of where to go, what to look for, things to try out, practical approaches, because so much of our audience is from the industry. Yet it's always people. It is always the humans in hospitality. This is why we started the show, for unsung hospitality heroes. And now I know a few more people. We know a few more people. It matters. It really does, Max. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, man. It was fun.
All right, Max. Have a great day. Go out there, cook some conch, and go mentor because it matters. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Same to you, man. Have a good one.
All right. Cheers. Yes. Max Hardy. Just look, if you've watched this show ever, it's the same story again and again and again. And I will tell the story, and it's compelling every single time. Humans, communication, taking care of each other, hospitality. It's always the people. It's not what's on the plate. It's who gets it to the plate that truly matters. I'm going to say it again and again and again. And that is just echoed over and over. And Sophie's on it. There we go. She's got the catchphrases lined up for you guys. You're welcome, or I'm sorry. Either way. So yes, Best Served podcast. Oh yeah. See, this is why Sophie's on top of it. I want to make sure and tell everybody about Best Served on Film, which is our collaboration series with the Flatirons Food Film Festival and local table tours. We launched the show with Steph Ferrari. Exciting show, back to back Emmy Award winner for her work on The Migrant Kitchen. So please check that out, and check out the ongoing show Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, 3 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be on for the next 3 Wednesdays. We got a great lineup, filmmakers, chefs. The legend Sandor Katz will be on the show as well, who changed my trajectory when I read the book on food fermentation, The Art of Fermentation. So I wanted to take a little time to promote that, as well as the Flatirons Food Film Festival and all the work that happens around nonprofit work in bringing together food and film, the arts. You have to support. Sophie is dropping into the comments a link to some online digital cooking classes that they're doing, and I want all of you to go check that out. Some amazing stuff. I'm really fired up about Kelly Whitaker, James Beard nominated chef, who is doing some really, really clever things with grains and heritage grains and local grains, and bringing that to pizza, which is what he's really known for. Has a couple amazing pizza restaurants under his belt, and so I want you guys to go support that as well. All right. That is it for today's show. Best Served Hot. You'll see hot food trends, unique foods, emerging cuisines. Yet once again, we talked about conch, which absolutely fits into that. The Caribbean cuisine, which absolutely is emerging. It's people. every show, just so you know, it's all about people, as it always is. All right, that is it for today. Thank you so much. I will see you on the next episode. Cheers.